Blackwater Bay. The name itself sends a shiver down the spine. It is a place spoken of in hushed tones. A place where the sea seems to hold its breath. The waters here are unnaturally cold, even in summer's embrace. Sunlight struggles to penetrate the inky depths. Locals whisper tales of ships swallowed whole, vanishing without a trace. They speak of an ancient presence, a guardian of the abyss. Few mariners dare to venture into its forbidding expanse. The bay remains a chilling mystery, a dark stain on the charts. For generations, stories have been woven around Blackwater Bay, each tale more terrifying than the last. Fishermen tell of nets pulled down with impossible force, of strange mournful cries echoing across the water on moonless nights. Many dismiss these as mere folklore, the ramblings of superstitious old men. Yet the disappearances are a stark reality. Vessels sturdy and crewed by experienced sailors simply cease to exist. No wreckage is found. No survivors return to tell their tale. The bay guards its secrets fiercely, a silent, brooding sentinel against the curious. The very air in Blackwater Bay feels different. It is heavy, oppressive. A profound silence often blankets the area, broken only by the mournful cry of a distant gull or the sigh of the wind through unseen crevices in the cliffs. This wind carries an unnatural chill, biting deep into the bones. The water itself is a dark, impenetrable mirror reflecting the brooding sky above. It is said that to stare too long into its depths is to invite madness, to see things not meant for human eyes. The place feels inherently wrong, a pocket of the world where nature's laws seem to bend. It is called Blackwater for good reason. The immense depth of the bay contributes to its perpetual gloom. Light cannot reach the abyssal plains far below. Here, strange ecosystems might thrive untouched by the world above. The water's surface, often disturbed by unseen currents, churns with a dark energy. There is a persistent, unsettling feeling of being watched, of being assessed by something ancient and intelligent, hidden just beyond the veil of perception. This constant scrutiny wears down the nerves of even the bravest souls who dare to enter. Captain Elias Crane knew the legends. He had heard the warnings since he was a boy, yet desperation is a powerful motivator. Crane was a seasoned mariner, his face a roadmap of countless voyages etched by sun and salt. His hands, gnarled and strong, had wrestled with nets and helms for decades, but times were hard. Fish stocks elsewhere had dwindled. Debts were mounting, threatening to swallow his ancestral home, his family's legacy. He saw Blackwater Bay not as a place of certain doom, but as a last desperate chance for a miraculous catch. His vessel, the Marion Belle, was much like him, old-weathered and showing her age. Her timbers creaked with every swell, her engine coughed like an old man, but she was sturdy, or so Crane believed. She was his only remaining asset, his final tool in a world that seemed determined to break him. He had poured what little money he had left into her upkeep, hoping she would see him through one more perilous journey. The Marion Belle was more than just a boat. She was an extension of his own fading hope, a testament to his stubborn refusal to surrender. The decision to sail into Blackwater Bay was not made lightly. Crane had a wife and 2 young children. Their faces haunted his waking thoughts and his troubled dreams. The thought of their potential hardship, should he fail, was a heavier burden than any storm. He had tried every other fishing ground, every other avenue. All had led to meager returns. The stories of colossal untouched schools of fish in Blackwater Bay, though intertwined with darker tales, were a siren song he could no longer ignore. He told himself the stories were exaggerated. His crew was small, just 3 other men. Each carried their own burdens, their own reasons for following Crane into such ill-reputed waters. Young Jamie, barely a man seeking adventure and a means to support his widowed mother. Old Finn, a quiet man who had sailed with Crane for 20 years, loyal to a fault, and gruff, powerfully built Mac, who feared little but poverty. A quiet tension hung over the Marion Belle as she chugged towards the bay's ominous entrance. Hope wrestled with a deep, unspoken apprehension in the hearts of all aboard that small, aging trawler. The first day in Blackwater Bay passed uneventfully, deceptively so. The nets, however, came up strangely empty, not even a common bottom feeder. As dusk bled across the sky, painting it in hues of bruised purple and grey, the sonar began to behave erratically. It showed fleeting, massive shapes deep beneath the keel, far larger than any known whale or school of fish. Elias initially dismissed it as interference, a quirk of the bay's unusual magnetic fields perhaps. But a cold knot of unease began to tighten in his stomach. The silence of the bay seemed to press in. Then, the strange occurrences began to escalate. The Marion Belle's old generator, usually reliable, sputtered and died, plunging them into near darkness for several terrifying minutes before Finn coaxed it back to life. The radio, their only link to the outside world, crackled with static, then fell silent. No amount of fiddling could raise even a whisper. They were truly alone. Unsettling noises started to emanate from the deep. Not whale song, but low, guttural rumbles that seemed to vibrate through the hull itself, making their teeth ache. The following morning, as a pale, weak sun attempted to pierce the perpetual gloom, Jamie, on watch, let out a terrified yell. He pointed a shaking finger at the water. There, moving with ponderous grace just beneath the surface, was an immense, dark shadow. It was impossibly long, easily dwarfing the Marion Bell. It circled them once, a slow, deliberate inspection, then sank back into the Stygian depths. No one spoke. The air was thick with a primal fear. This was no whale. This was something else, something ancient and vast. Captain Crane tried to maintain a facade of calm for his crew's sake. He ordered them to prepare the nets again, his voice perhaps a little too loud, a little too forced, but his own heart hammered against his ribs. The old tales, the warnings he had dismissed, now screamed in his mind. He gripped the helm, his knuckles white. The feeling of being watched had intensified 100-fold. It was no longer a vague premonition, it was a certainty. Something was down there, and it knew they were here. The bay was no longer just a fishing ground, it was a hunting ground. Suddenly the water beside the Marion Bell erupted. A colossal head, larger than the trawler's wheelhouse, surged upwards. It was a creature of nightmare. Its scales were the color of midnight, glistening and ancient, some as large as shields. Two immense eyes like molten gold with slitted reptilian pupils fixed upon the tiny vessel. They held no malice, only a cold, fathomless antiquity. A cavernous maw, lined with teeth like jagged daggers, slowly opened, releasing a hiss that sounded like a storm wind tearing through a forest. It was a sea serpent, a legend made real. The attack was swift, brutal. The serpent's immense body coiled, then struck. The Marion Bell was lifted from the water as if she were a child's toy, then slammed back down with bone-jarring force. Timbers screamed and splintered. Masts snapped like twigs. Men were thrown across the deck, their cries swallowed by the roar of the creature and the crashing waves. Water poured in through gaping holes in the hull. The ancient beast seemed to toy with them, its movements powerful yet almost languid. The actions of an apex predator assured of its dominance. Elias watched in horror as brave Mac, was snatched from the deck by a flick of the serpent's colossal tail, disappearing beneath the churning dark water. Young Jamie clung to a broken rail, his face a mask of sheer terror, before a wave, churned by the beast's thrashing, washed him overboard. Finn, loyal Finn, was crushed when the main mast collapsed. Elias, clinging to the rapidly sinking helm, felt a profound, soul-crushing despair. He was witnessing the end of his world, the price of his desperate gamble. The serpent showed no emotion, merely an ancient, implacable hunger. Somehow, amidst the chaos, Elias found himself clinging to a large piece of wreckage. The Marion Bell was gone, dragged beneath the waves by the immense creature. He watched, numb as the serpent circled the debris field once more, its great head held high. Then, with a final, disdainful flick of its tail, it dove. Silence descended, broken only by Elias's ragged gasps and the lapping of water against his makeshift raft. Hours later, a passing freighter, far off its usual course, found him half dead from cold and shock. He spoke of the serpent. He warned that it was moving south, towards warmer waters, towards unsuspecting shores. Something ancient was stirring, and Blackwater Bay was only the beginning.